at the sound of the cool movie riff. It's a sign that you are tuned to the 126th, can you believe it, SongBike Guitar Q&A Livestream. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great week. I'm just getting the cockpit of this airplane ready to go. It's about as good as it's going to get. You're staying warm. It's cold here. It's windy here. If you listen closely, now and then you're going to hear a massive wind gust right there. We'll see if the building stays standing. How are you, everybody? Got a great show, a really great show for today. Got a bunch of WTFs. Those are weekly teaching features, including that little thing I just played, which will make more sense in a minute. In between your questions, we have three weekly teaching features, little mini lessons. We're going to talk about Brian Setzer, a little Brian Setzer story to tell you. From the Stray Cats, you know Brian Setzer. My own dumb question of the week, a segment I call Should I Sell Out? Of course, we have our play-along song of the week, which is a good one. It's a great one. The title track of a classic album. Not much of a clue, but there you go. The title track of a classic album. Segment I call Who's in Town? We got a student quote of the week. Before we get started, I'm going to say a few hellos to everybody I see in the chat. Richard, Joseph, Christian, hello. Bruce, hello. In Guy We Trust. Hey, in Guy We Trust. I hope I'm saying your name right. Barry, hello. Randy, hello. Chaz, hello. Scott, William Collier with a big super chat donation right off the bat. Thank you, William. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well there in Texas. And who else do I see here in the chat? Of course, Matt. Hey, Matt, thanks for being here in the chat. Okay. Now, if it looks like I'm looking at my phone, it's because I am, because YouTube is still making it, they're not letting me see my own chat on the screen. So I'm looking at my phone the way you guys are looking at your tablets or computers or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? If you have a question for me, and I sure hope you do, I hope you put it in the description. I put it in the chat right away. And I can't wait. Put a bunch of question marks in advance. That's how I know it's aimed at me. And we're going to start with one of the weekly teaching features. In 1 second, I'm going to log in here one more time. For the first weekly teaching feature, here's what you're going to need. Let's do something that I call the ultimate hammer-on. The ultimate hammer-on. So what are you going to need? You're going to need some confident fingers. Notice I didn't say strong fingers. We want confident fingers with precision and dexterity, a little bit of muscle. But I'm going to encourage you many times in the next moment here to not go crazy with smacking the strings as hard as possible. Okay, boom and boom. I'm about to put on the screen an exercise I'm calling the ultimate hammer-on. Here it comes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You should see it very soon on the screen. The ultimate hammer-on. This particular exercise, I am going to illustrate this with 5 chords that I chose very specifically. It's a curated collection of chords here. What we're about to do works well for some chords and doesn't work well with other chords. So right about now, it should be popping up on your screen. Okay, why am I calling this the ultimate hammer-on? I will tell you. I'm going to illustrate this with a C major chord. Typically, when we do hammer-ons during a chord strumming segment, we hammer on one specific string. And so in the, next to that stack of numbers that illustrate the C chord, I have a hammer-on the 5th string, a hammer-on the 4th string, and a hammer-on the 2nd string, right? Those hammer-ons reflect the 3 fingers that you're using when you strum a C chord. And those are all great. I encourage you to employ those hammer-ons anytime you're strumming a C chord, especially if you're on a C chord for, 4 counts, 8 counts. You can put them in any order you want. You can rely on one rather than another. If it's your own personal tune, then you decide which one of those to employ. But I'm here to tell you that during a C chord, you can hammer on from 0 to any of those chord tones, and it's going to sound great. See why I'm calling those chord tones? Because those notes that your fingertips are touching are literally notes that make up the C major chord, right? Okay, but that's not the ultimate hammer-on. The ultimate hammer-on, ready? Bum, 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 all of them at once. So I'm going to strum 5 open strings. I'm avoiding the 6th string because that's not a string we use during a C chord anyways. And I'm going to hammer on with 3 fingers at the same time to get this effect. Now that's the ultimate hammer-on. Are you allowed to do that? Of course you are. Sounds good. Sounds good. It is good. Now, some of you might say, yeah, but 0, 0, 0, 0, that's not a chord. That's certainly not a chord we ever use in any songs, right? That's okay. What you're going for here is an effect. Hammering into the C chord. Okay, the listener really doesn't have time to process that 0, 0, 0 right there. All those things, right? Because you're hammering into the C chord so fast, that's their takeaway. But the way you're getting that C chord is so cool, right? I'm doing it on electric guitar. The strings are a little bit skinnier. The neck is a little bit skinnier. Does that make it easier? Maybe, maybe. Some of you may be finding that as you hammer on, you are muting out the strings that remain open, or that should remain open. The first treble E string and the third treble string, the G string. In a perfect world, those 2 strings are still vibrating even after the hammer-on. That's one very good goal. It's not the only goal, but that's a good goal. I mean, that's how you get the maximum effect. It's not easy, right? Because as you hammer down with your fingertips, it's extremely likely that you're going to graze either the first or third strings that you want them to remain open, and it's possible you're gonna dampen them out. Remember, if it's your personal song, you decide if that's a big deal or not. As a fellow guitarist, I'm challenging you to not dampen out those open strings when you hammer them. Okay, you get the idea? I'm just checking in the chat. I'm just seeing, make sure. Okay, I see a couple questions coming in. That's excellent, excellent, excellent. So, and we'll get to those. Hey, Bruce, thank you for your super chat donation. I sure appreciate that. I'll try to send that a heart. Super chat, you guys, is how you can support this live stream. Just click on that $sign down at the bottom of the chat, and the rest is easy. And I say thank you in advance. Okay, so let's continue on. A minor, same deal, right? You could hammer on with your middle finger. Your ring finger, that's a little tricky because you have to make sure that your middle finger isn't leaning over onto that string. Hammer on with your index. Notice I'm keeping my A minor in place. The premise here is that you're playing a song where you're on an A minor chord anyways, right? And you want to dress it up. You're going to spend endless hours learning how to dress up regular chords. In fact, that's one sign that you're becoming a better and better guitar player. When you're asked to play an A minor, you have all these things you can do to dress it up a little bit. Okay, but again, we're going for the ultimate hammer-on. All 3 of those fingers. It's a cool sound. It's a big sound, right? Okay, take a look at your fingertips. You very likely will have some good dents. I don't know if you can see mine, some good dents in your fingertips right there. Don't overdo it. It's not necessarily about how much muscle you use. You need a certain amount of muscle. But I'm telling you, it's a little bit about precision, confidence, By the way, I'm not looking at my left hand. You are certainly welcome to look at your left hand. No point looking at your picking hand, right? Don't worry about that hand. Eyes on your fretting hand. Okay. Now, before we go on, for the fun of it, let me point out why we're not doing this with some other chords. A G major chord. Doesn't sound great. It doesn't work so well. Partly because G has those 3 open strings. At least to my ear, you don't get the same bang for your buck. It's not like you get this cool musical thing happening the way you do with C and A minor. I don't know. I mean, the bass strings, you can hear it a little bit. So I'm not ruling it out, but given limited space on this piece of paper that you're looking at on your screen, I chose not to do G. This doesn't work too well. What does work well? E major. Works great. Sounds great, right? By now you get the idea, but I want to point out something. I'm going to use the E major as an example. I'm doing E major the conventional way, my middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, ring finger, 4th string, 2nd fret, index, 3rd string, 1st fret, probably the same way you guys are doing it too. Hey, DAC, I see your question about hammer-ons. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. It's a good question. If you're like me, the second hammer-on on the E major line is tricky because it's so likely your middle finger is going to lean over slightly and dampen that string. Now, if you can do that consistently with no problem, awesome. Good for you. But I cannot. At least I don't trust it. The example I always give is if I was in a recording session paying by the hour for time in the recording studio, and I wasn't 100% confident I would get that every time, right? I don't want to waste time and money. I would do a little workaround. Here's the workaround. I'm going to let go of the E chord. I'm going to do that hammer-on by itself with the ring finger, because that's the finger that's going to be on that string when I subsequently grab the E chord. So only one finger touching the guitar. There's the hammer-on with the ring finger. And then I grab the rest of the E chord. So now I feel confident that 10 times out of 10, I knew as soon as I said those words, I thought, don't say 9 times out of 10, you dummy. I feel confident, more confident that that hammer-on is going to sound great. And I feel very confident that I can quickly form the E major chord around that note as soon as I'm done. So see how I got myself a little insurance policy there, right, by doing that? Recommend it. Now, don't let me stop you from working on arching your fingers just right so that you can maintain the E major chord. Just lift off the ring finger, hammer down, life is good. Don't let me stop you from working on that. Yeah, with practice, you'll be able to get that. But it's always nice to have a workaround. Okay. So I think you probably get the idea now. For the moment, I'm not going to cover the A major chord and the D major chord. You get the idea right there. I'm going to go to DAC Poet's question, who says, how do you do hammer-ons without rushing them? Yeah, I've seen a lot of students who, in the thrill, in the excitement of banging on the guitar with their fretting hand, their default is to do it very fast. And, fast equals sloppy, right? Or it sure does in the early days. And I think the mistake is associating confidence, smoothness with speed. So a slow hammer-on, I'm on the E major chord. Now I know this sounds a little weird, but clearly I'm taking my time before I finally hammer on. You should have the discipline to do that, even though there are many situations where you want to be able to do a fast hammer on. I get it. But if you're relatively new to hammer-ons, or if this exercise is a little bit, a little bit of a challenge, focus on the physical motor skill and the overall sound at a slow speed. Don't rush it. It takes discipline. I know, because I've had to repeat myself occasionally with students and say, no, do it slowly. No, slowly. I mean, no, slowly. And finally, I try to illustrate what I mean by slowly. Make sure the string is ringing. Make sure it sounds good before you do the hammer-on. DIC poet, discipline, breathe in, breathe out, whatever the hammer-on is. The hammer-ons do lead to sore fingers, especially if you're working on like a lesson plan like this. Yeah, your fingers are gonna get a little bit sore for sure. Pace yourself, pace yourself. Scott says, a great question. Are you most likely to use these hammer-ons when switching from certain other chords? No, anytime. And use these anytime, because these hammer-ons, you know what? I spoke a little bit too quickly. But what I was about to say was, these hammer-ons are unique to these chords, right? So they're, what we're talking about is having fun, so to speak, with these exact chords. Having said that, if, for example, you're doing a song in the key of G or the key of E minor, which some of you know E minor is the relative minor key to the key of G. Those two chords have so many open strings built into them, right? They each have what? G has 3 open strings built in. E minor has 4 open strings built in. Okay? If that's the key you're in, G or E minor, and you're playing a lot of G chords, a lot of E minor chords, then this whole notion of strumming a bunch of zeros and landing on whatever the chord is, A minor, well, then it's going to sound very coherent, because you're already playing a bunch of zeros, quote, quote, open strings with the G chord anyways, or the E minor anyways. So it won't be outrageous to include that open string strum as you go to the next chord, like let's say C. So for the fun of it, since it's a great question, I'll illustrate it with a G chord. And instead of just strumming C, I'm going to do this ultimate hammer-on. Here it comes. Hopefully, it sounded very natural to you. It sounded natural to me. Here's A minor. How about D7? Back to G. D like delta. C. A minor. Here comes E minor. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to do E minor again. So why didn't I put E minor on this sheet right there? I figured E major kind of covered E minor. Same. I chose to do E major because E major has that cool hammer-on the 3rd skinny string. Okay, so Scott, did I answer your question? Use them anytime you want to, but I have to admit, upon reflection, if you're playing in the key of G or E minor, yeah, it works. Yeah. Bruce is asking a fun question. Bruce's son Byron wants to know, what are my favorite and least favorite music genre? Boy, that's I'm going to start with my favorite. Of course, this is when people typically say, "Oh, I like everything." Don't trust people when they say, the one thing they really don't like is what you do like. Don't trust people when they say, "I like everything." My favorite musical genre. Well, I mean, I grew up listening to lots and lots of classic rock, so that'll always be near and dear to my heart. Beatles and everything that came after. I sure like Bob Dylan a lot, but in terms of our genre, I tell you what, I listen to a lot of music that is typically known as world music, because I've heard so much classic rock and I've heard so much other stuff that I really get turned on to listening to world music. I have my cute little magazine handy. I don't. I get a magazine every month in the mail, and the magazine is called Songlines Magazine. It's out of the UK. And every month it's full of music from all over the world. A lot of it is not even guitar based. So man, do I love checking out their recommendations from that magazine. So I love the music that is typically known as world music, which essentially, at least the way I listen to it, it's essentially music that's native to that particular culture, right? So I like music from all over the world because I find it beautiful, but also so much different than what I grew up with. Although the more you listen to it, the more you begin to sort of accept it and assimilate the different sounds into your own little brain. But I listen to a lot of music from the earliest days of recordings, music that goes back to the 20s and 30s, a lot of blues and jazz that goes back to the 20s, and country music that goes back to the 20s and 30s and 40s. Yep. But if I was on a road trip, certainly a little bit of that world music would come into play quite a bit. My least favorite genre. Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what I don't enjoy listening to, which is music that just doesn't strike me as particularly original or interesting. Some that's been done before. I know it's a pretty broad answer, but that I tell you for sure, if I hear something, I think, oh, that person's strumming the guitar, but it doesn't strike me as anything new. Or you live long enough and you hear lots of music, and when the next person comes along doing what you've heard before, you're like, oh, that's nice, but I've heard that before. I'm not 11 years old anymore. So a lot of traditional music from around the world. Irish music, traditional Irish music. Hey, now's a great time to talk about who's coming through town. Why not? 3 acts are coming through my neck of the woods right now. They include a band called the Young Dubliners, which I believe is only one person from Ireland, the leader of the band, and the rest are Americans. The Young Dubliners are coming through town. Excuse me. A terrific guitar player playing, I believe, in the style of Django Reinhardt, that kind of gypsy jazz style. Stefan Rembel is coming through town. And Roomful of Blues here in New England. We're all very familiar with a great kind of jump blues band called Roomful of Blues. They play a lot here in New England. I believe they're based right here in New England. Roomful of Blues. Links to videos of all 3 of those acts are going to be in the description of this live stream as soon as we wrap up. The Young Dubliners, Stefan Rembel, and Roomful of Blues. I recommend all of them. If they're coming through my neighborhood, they might be coming through your neighborhood too. Okay, questions, thoughts about that Ultimate Hammer-On thing right there? That's an example of a PDF that will be available on my website pretty quickly after we wrap up today. Okay, the Ultimate Hammer-On. I highly encourage you to write a song that uses that type of hammer-on technique. Don't sit around and wait for it to show up. Make up your own song, your own riff. And I'm back. All right. Now we have more WTF, weekly teaching features, coming up in the show. We've done 1 so far. We got 2 more plus our playing along song. Don't go anywhere. Anybody feeling salty? I'll tell you why I'm feeling salty. There's so much salt being put down on the roads here in Connecticut that just walking down the road or driving, I feel like my mouth is like the salted rim of a glass of a margarita or something. You just kind of taste salt all day long. I don't know. I can't imagine that's good for anybody, but man, I am feeling salty. And I can only imagine what the underneath of everybody's cars is like. What are you going to do? Anyways, anybody else out there like tasting salt all day long? This is just me. Okay. Oh, Christian is asking an interesting question. What about bending at the same time that you hammer on? I have never done that before. So I don't, hey, you can invent a new thing. That is tricky because, but again, I have to admit, I never thought of it before. So yeah, you could do it. I'm sure there's guitar players who make that part of their style in terms of lead guitar. Once you're committing to a chord, your fretting hand is kind of locked in place, so to speak, right? So what you just described, I can imagine using that in lead guitar playing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm on my third treble string, the G string. I'm hammering on with 3 fingers. My ring is hammering on the 3rd fret. That's what you're hearing. But I'm including my index and middle for support on the same string. And my attempt is to bend the 3rd fret G string note to sound like the 5th fret G string note. To bend this note, so it sounds like this. That's a cool effect, right? Okay, so Christian, I hope that answers your question. That's a cool thing, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it on a chord myself, because once you get that chord, you've got a nice harmonious family of notes right there, and I wouldn't want to change any of those notes. But maybe that's just me, maybe. With a whammy bar, you could get a bending kind of sound after the hammer on. Can you guys hear that? I don't know how well the mic picks up little subtle stuff like that. What I just did, in a way, was the opposite of bending a string, which tightens the string, makes the pitch higher. The whammy bar, the way I just used it, it loosened the string, so it made my A minor go a little bit flat and then come back again, and probably out of tune. What are you gonna do? Can I tell you why I was 2 or 3 minutes late starting this live stream? I couldn't find the picture I found earlier. Saw the coolest thing, an old brick fireplace going back to early 1900s, I guess. It had a built-in music stand on an extension arm, so people could sit by the fire and play their instrument. So imagine a brick fireplace. Imagine like there's one brick missing on the side, right? You reach your hand in, and like an arm comes out, and this music stand kind of folds out. I mean, I couldn't find the picture again, so hopefully it wasn't, hopefully it was a real thing. I love the idea, right? And the premise is that, hey, before internet, TV, radio, people made their own entertainment, and why not make it around the fireplace? So why not have a built-in music stand waiting for you within your fireplace? Open up, play your music right there. How cool. I loved it. And of course, when I went to look for the picture again, I couldn't find it. If anyone out there sees that picture, let me know. Very cool idea. Made my day. Okay, check. We have a few things coming up. Don't go anywhere, including our play along song of the week. Hey, next Saturday, Valentine's Day, I was thinking that maybe I would do the live stream Friday instead. And so Mrs. SongBike and I could maybe have some fun on Valentine's Day. Not that she doesn't have fun as the moderator of our live stream here. So my tentative plan is to do the live stream next Friday night. And I was thinking making it a 1-hour show, because we're going to be starting a little bit later, because I teach all day on Fridays. I teach on Saturdays too. But starting Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So literally 22 hours earlier, okay? Typically we start at 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. My tentative plan, 7 p.m. Friday, and like a 1-hour show, have pack all of our hijinks into 60 minutes. How will you know if I decide for sure to do that? Follow me on Instagram or Facebook. The search for the thing is SongBike. Do a search for the word SongBike, all one word, SONGBIKE on Facebook or Instagram. Give me a follow, and for sure I will confirm exactly the start time and the date and everything. But that's the plan. Okay, I want to make sure I told you about that, and I'm going to try to remind you later in the show, because some of you aren't watching right now. Some of you are watching half an hour from now. Oh, hear that wind? Oh boy. Oh boy, it's cold. I'll give you a weather update momentarily. Hey, I'm scrolling back because I feel like I missed a couple of questions here. No, did I? Okay. Hey, in Guy We Trust, you mentioned chicken picking. I love chicken picking. It's on my list of things to get really good at. At the moment, I'm a student of chicken picking. Are you asking for like some like lessons on chicken picking? I would love to do that in this live stream. I'd love it. In fact, requests like that help me plan the next live stream, right? So if you guys are interested in chicken picking, let me know in the chat. Yeah, I'd love to do that. I have a bunch of books on how to do it. I know a bunch of the tricks of chicken picking. I just wouldn't call myself a master, but I can show you some stuff. And if you're not sure what chicken picking is, yeah, when we're all done, stay on YouTube and do a search for the term chicken picking. It's that hot shot country playing, very often done on a Telecaster with a nice clean sound. And there's no end to the world of wonders within the world of chicken picking. So it's very, very cool stuff. Okay, I'm just checking out the chat. Okay. Okay, I'm just checking out. Yeah, Steven, you got plenty of salt. Well, you're here in New England like the rest of us, right? Man, I'm noticing it more than ever, and I'm grateful. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm glad my car doesn't slide off the road. But man, things are salty around here. Holy cow. Holy cow. Okay, other things I want to share with you. My own dumb question of the week. Let's get down to it. Never a bad time for a dumb question. I ask these dumb questions so you don't have to. Here's my dumb question of the week. And this is extremely relevant, so don't go anywhere. My dumb question of the week. Why are you allowed to modify hard chords and play easier ones instead? People talk about this, including me, a lot. Seems like every time you turn around, someone's saying, well, it's an A7, it's an A9 chord, but you can play A7 instead. It's a B flat major, but you can play a B flat power chord instead. You guys know what I'm talking about? And if you've spent 5 minutes on ultimateguitar.com or just watching videos, you hear this kind of thing all the time. Why are you just allowed to do that? I mean, the songwriter wrote a certain chord and the guitar player played a certain chord. And why do people, including me, say, oh, just do the power chord instead? Or minor is okay. You don't have to do minor 7. You do A minor. Don't worry about A minor 7. Why? That's a dumb question. There must be a logical reason. It's a dumb question. But somehow, what's up with that? How are you allowed to do that? I took some jazz guitar lessons from a fella. We opened up this jazz guitar book, picked a song, and he immediately just took a pencil, started crossing out maybe 60% of the chords in the song and writing in different chords. I said, well, what are you doing? He said, this book was written by a drummer. To this day, I'm not sure if he was serious or not. I don't know. I think I prefer not knowing. Anyway, so why are we allowed to do that? Well, answer number 1, we're not allowed to do that. You got to play the right chords. Answer number 2, sometimes you can simplify a chord and it sounds good enough. Good enough. That's answer number 2 is the good enough reason. It's good enough. I use the example of the campfire scenario. The song asks for A minor 9 and you play an A minor chord instead. You're on a campfire. If anyone complains, they're out of the campfire. Go find another campfire, you know? So sometimes the simplified chord is good enough. It gets the point across. But the question is why? How can a chord be close enough? I can give you a couple examples. Say you're supposed to play a 4-note chord, and you play 3 of the 4 notes to simplify things. That's known as implying a chord. You're allowed to imply a chord. You're allowed to. In fact, there's some scenarios where that's actually your job to imply the chord without playing the whole thing. So you are allowed to imply a chord. But if it's a 5-note chord and you play only 4 of the notes, that's good enough. Here's an example, C7. That's a C major chord, but you add your pinky on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, a C7 chord. Has that nice characteristic bluesy sound. Well, what if it's a 4-note chord, by the way, C, E, G, and B flat. What if the music says, the song says to play a C9 chord? And the teacher, like me, says, I just play a C7. You know, it's easy peasy, C, you know. But, you know, well, a C9 chord adds 1 more note. C9 chord is a 5-note chord. C, E, G, B flat, and D like delta. Well, you know, a C7 has that bluesy sound that you need. The C9, by adding 1 more note, gives it sort of a jazzy touch. It's kind of a game changer in terms of how you're going to hold the chord. So, you chord police, don't start calling my telephone, you know. But you play 4 of the 5 notes, you're implying the chord that's reasonable. That's not unreasonable to play 4 of the 5 notes. Now I'm kind of simplifying my answer here, but that's how many of us justify playing a simplified version of the chord. You're playing some of the notes, you're just not playing all the notes. Another quick example, I'm going to use say a song that's asking you to play bar chords. Right now I have a B flat bar chord going on. My bar is at 6. My remaining fingers are in the E major formation. Well, instead of playing that bar chord, even if that's what the guy is playing in the song, you could just play a fragment of the bar chord, a B flat power chord, 6 on the 6th string, 8 on the 5th string. Just play those 2 notes by themselves. It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't have the fullness and the major flavor of that. But by definition, a B flat major chord is only 3 notes, B flat, D, and F. We strum 6 strings because we repeat notes. We have redundant B flats in there. That's fine. That's how you get the big full sound. But if a B flat major chord is only 3 notes and you play a B flat power chord instead, that's 2 of the 3 notes. That could get you by, you know. Okay, so that's why, to answer my own dumb question, that's one very specific, important reason why you're allowed to play a simplified version of the chord. You're playing some of the notes of the chord instead of all of them, you know. It's not the craziest idea, you know. Okay, so there's my dumb question of the week. Hopefully asked and answered. Should you rise to the challenge of learning the actual chord of a song? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. In the meantime, play the song, man. Have fun. Live your life. What if there's 1 chord in the middle of the song that's hanging you up? And otherwise, you're all set. You're fine. Yeah, man. Find a workaround, you know. And then in your little guitar notebook, your little book of blank pages where you write down little challenges, document your progress, document your playing time day by day, make a little note, work on such and such a chord, make a little diagram, you know, challenge yourself. Yeah, why not? Should I sell out every week? I ask you, should I sell out this week? I'm not even sure what this company does. I think it's you know, those books of blank paper that you get as a gift and you're supposed to write, I don't know, your memoirs in them or something, or sketches or something. I think it's a book of that kind of blank paper. That's what I was offered this week to offer to you. The answer remains no. There you go. Okay, let's do another weekly teaching feature. Why not? I'm going to close out the ultimate hammer-on. Moving on, my friends, our next weekly teaching feature. And after this, we'll get to our play-along song of the night. Our next weekly teaching feature, WTF, is, wait for it, there we go. The next weekly teaching feature is Mission Impossible. You know Mission Impossible, Lalo Schifrin's legendary movie soundtrack theme song, or TV, I guess to start off as a TV theme song, right? One of the few songs to enter our popular culture in 5/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Not many songs in 5/4 have entered our popular culture. Take 5, Dave Brubeck. And if I remember right, that song called Get Closer, Linda Ronstadt, that has aspects of it that are in 5/4 time, I think. I don't know. Somebody Google it. I don't know. Okay, Chaz, thank you so much for your super chat donation. Scott says blank books can be relevant. Use them for songwriting. Yeah. It's a fun gift to have. Yeah. How did it get the name Chicken Pickin'? DAC posts how to name Chicken Pickin'. It's hear that that ticka ticka ticka. Chicken Pickin' has a lot of that ticka 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 percussive. And somebody somewhere down the line thought that sounded like a sound a chicken would make. So not all chicken picking goes way beyond that particular sound. But I think that's where the name came from. Yeah. Yeah. And anytime you've heard fast, hot shot country guitar picking on electric guitar, chances are that person is doing something that falls in the realm of chicken picking. So yeah. Okay, so Lalo Schifrin, Mission Impossible. What do we have here? This is such a quirky tune, and so fun and so memorable. I thought I'd throw it your way. What this song is not is a guitar tune. It's not a guitar tune, but doesn't mean you can't have some fun with it. Okay, so the riff. Okay, at the top of the page. You can tell I'm muting it a little bit with the flesh on my right picking hand just to get that stealthy, kind of tight kind of sound. That to me is, in the right character. Okay, so what we have next, though, is the flute part when the flutes come in. So I'm calling this 1A, and I'm going to show it to you two different ways, 1A and 1B. So we got to pull off on the third string. I recommend using your index finger. Index finger again. And there's your middle finger on the 5th string, 4th fret. You could use your index finger on that 3rd note, 5th fret, 3rd fret on the 5th string. And then 1, 3, index ring. Since it's kind of fast, I'm doing a down up. So again, 1A, index finger, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, pull off. 4th string open. Same pull off. Middle finger, 5th string, 4th fret. Same pull off. 3rd string, 5th fret. Notice a pattern, right? The note after the pull off keeps descending. At the end of that line, the line labeled 1A, I wrote the riff again because that's what actually comes after riff 1A. But I wrote the riff an octave higher than at the top of the page. Cool little challenge because you really want to use your ring on the 3rd fret and your pinky on that 4th fret. I'm talking about the end of line 2, which is labeled 1A, the end of that line. You see how I use my ring pinky on the 4th string 3 and 4th fret 4. I highly encourage you, I demand that you use your ring and pinky on those notes. It puts them to use. If those fingers do not feel comfortable, that is definitely why you should use them. Okay, moving on. The same flute riff, 1 octave higher, I'm calling it 1B. Totally different approach. Not only is it 1 octave higher, but notice, unlike 1A, you can actually get your hand in this position right here. Now, that 6, 8, 7, the beginning of line 1B, it's a D minor formation, moved up to 6, 8, and 7. So, D minor, up 5 frets. And I'm just raking my pick up towards my chin. You could say it's 3 upstrokes in a row, but it's more of a rake across the strings. Ooh, sounds so good. All those years you've been hearing Mission Impossible, little did you know, it was a D minor formation up 5 frets. Now watch out. Here's where line 1B gets weird. 6, 8, 6. The most efficient, practical way is to bar the 3 treble strings at the 6th fret. Index finger, 3 treble string, 6th fret. To get a good, healthy, solid, reliable bar, you got to have your thumb pointing up towards the ceiling, right in the curvy, fat part of the neck back there. Notice how you cannot see my thumb. It's not up like this. It's not going off to the side. You want to push your hand away from yourself a little bit. You should have some space. You should not be clamped against the neck. Imagine you got a strawberry in the palm of your hand right there. For some of you, that might be a sticking point. 6, 8, 6 right there. But if you think that's hard, watch out. 6, 8, 5. Now, there's no great workaround for this chord. Check it out. What I encourage you to do is middle finger 6 on the E string, pinky 8 on the B string, and here's the stretch, index finger 5 on the G string. It's doable. You live or die by where your thumb is, okay? Now, if you can do it, but you got to let go, I mean, it's a stretch, good. You only need it for that amount of time, right? Each of these chords is very brief. And the riff comes back again. I mean, the riff always follows. By the way, what I'm calling the riff, it's what you played at the top of the page, but at the end of line 2 and the end of line 3, we are just doing it in different octaves. For the riff as presented at the end of line 1B, I'm not recommending specific fingers, but I guess I should. I'm doing my index on 3. I'm just gliding up with my index for the 6, and then I'm using my ring finger on the 8. Index, index, index ring. Back to the index on 3. Index on 1. Middle on 2. And then I end up with my ring finger on the 3 to start the whole process again. I don't know. There's more than one way to do it. Okay, that riff, you now have it presented 3 different ways in 3 different octaves. The top of the page, the end of line 2, and the end of line 3. Knock yourself out. Okay, now we're almost there. What I'm calling riff number 2 or phrase number 2, quirky chord. So this is the fourth line down. I have it labeled 2 in a big circle. It's the next thing sequentially. We're all quirky, right? So check it out. Please plant your index finger, third skinny string, first fret, and just leave it there. Do not lift that off. Not yet. Leave it there for almost the entire line. Don't lift it off. Okay, now I'm going to use my ring finger to grab that 2, even before I start. That's 2 on the E string. To me, that just, it falls there naturally. Could you use some other finger? You could. The ring finger just feels so good for me. Okay, there's this first 3 notes of phrase number 2. My challenge to you, make sure all those strings ring, even when you move on to other strings. You should end up with all 3 strings humming. Easy? Not easy? I don't know, but that's the goal. All 3 strings should end up ringing simultaneously. My index finger, not going to move. I'm going to use my middle finger to grab the 1 on the first string that I'm going to need in a second. Ooh, juicy. I'm going to let go of my middle finger. Very fun. Now that last 4-3, I go back and forth. I couldn't make up my mind whether that was a 4-3 or a 5-4. At the moment, 5-4 sounds better to me than 4-3. But I got to go back and listen to the song again. That sounded good, right? That was 5-4. But an hour ago, I thought 4-3 sounded better. I don't know. If you're curious what happens next, it's that thing labeled 3 with a circle around it. I put that there just as one more piece of information. After everything else has happened on this page, that's the next thing. It leads into the next segment of the song. And you see, it's almost like the riff that showed up at the end of line 2. It's got a bonus open second string on there. Okay, now why are we doing this? Why? It's weird. It's a weird song with weird challenges. If nothing else, you got that riff at the top of the page. By the way, definitely use your ring finger on 3. I'm looking at the top of the page now, right? The riff. Ring finger on the 3rd fret, index on the 1st fret, and when you need that that 2 on the E string, use your middle finger. Long story short, play the top of the page in 1st position. Index plays the 1 notes, middle plays the 2 note, and ring finger plays the 3 notes, the 3rd fret notes, you know? Okay, so it's just a quirky tune with quirky challenges. So some of this is a little bit challenging, not going to lie. On the other hand, you get immediate feedback from your listening audience, right? I mean, everybody knows this. What a great show that was. I've enjoyed the movies too, but as a kid, I loved the TV show. So fun. They're always wearing those rubber masks. You never knew who was whom, right? You never knew, because you'd be watching one dude, you thought it was so-and-so. They'd take off the rubber mask and they got you again. Good times, good times. Okay, I think we've had some fun with that Mission Impossible. Again, that PDF you're looking at will soon be uploaded to my website, song-bike.com. I know many of you are members of that website, and I thank you for being members. Those of you who are not members, let me just tell you, there are well over 100 PDFs of all sorts of stuff available to members of that website, song-bike.com. You can become a member for $9.95 a month and access tons and tons and tons of stuff. So check it out. Cancel anytime. Save money by becoming an annual member. It's $99.95 for a whole year. Anyways, that's where all this teaching stuff feeds into that website, specifically the PDFs. You know, I mean, especially the PDFs that we always are looking at. Okay. Yeah, Joseph is saying that Roy Clark was a great chicken picker. Roy Clark may be the best guitar player that isn't a household name anymore. I know he was, holy cow, is Roy Clark an amazing guitar player. Holy moly. He had his own TV show. It wasn't like he was living in obscurity, but I don't remember seeing Roy Clark on the cover of any guitar magazine I ever bought as a kid. Holy cow, what a musician's musician. And Roy Clark, number 2, he made everything look easy. And number 3, he made it look like he was having the time of his life. There's all these guys who play, they look so serious. Nothing wrong with that. Roy Clark looked like he was having a great time playing the guitar. Hey, Barry's making a good point. I'm getting back to substituting simpler chords for harder chords. Barry says playing easier chords makes it easier to sing well while you're playing the guitar. Oh, yeah. And doing substitutions for bar chords can help avoid fatigue. Barry, I agree with you 100% for sure. Okay, you guys ready for our play along song of the month? Grab a capo. I know I'm going to grab a capo. Capo at the 4th fret. Our play along song of the month is a classic. The title track from a classic album happened to be the last song on the album. And it's kind of an epic tune because there's so much guitar soloing in the tune. What am I talking about? I thought you'd never ask. Our play along song of the week. There we go, right there. Soon on your screen will appear everything you need to strum along with a beautiful song written by Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits, the song called Brothers in Arms, the title track of the album, Brothers in Arms, from 1983, 84, in that ballpark. Capo at the 4th fret. Now, why this particular song? This song checks the boxes. Famous song. Good song, slow song. This may be one of the slowest songs we've ever done, and kind of easy chords. A couple of quirky chords, but they're not even hard, So the document you're looking at, that's what we're going to be working from. But just so you know, take a look at this. That is a very efficient summary of the tune. That's everything you need for the tune right there. It doesn't have the words. But you guys know I like to present songs more than one way. Both of these documents are going to be uploaded to my website. We're going to work with this one right here, but I want you to see a different perspective. Okay, so here's what you need to know. Capo at the 4th fret, got it, okay? Every time you see a chord name, you're going to strum 2 downstrokes. When you see the same chord named again and again and again, like all those D's at the top of the page there, yeah, you're going to do 2 downstrokes for one D and 2 more for the next, and 2 more. So it might end up being 6 downstrokes on a D chord. Okay. The B minor chord could be, for some of you, the sticking point in this song. Some of you are just not super comfortable with B minor. I get it. This is your chance to be inspired. Doesn't mean you have to suddenly magically be able to play B minor perfectly tonight, but hopefully you dig this song and it inspires you to get good at B minor. Okay, our first somewhat oddball chord is the D suspended 4 chord. It's a D chord, but you add your pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret. No big deal. Some people know this as the free falling chord. In this song, the D suspended 4 chord is always followed by the regular D chord. So for that reason, I'm going to encourage you, when you grab the D suspended 4 chord, to use 4 fingers so that when the D chord shows up a moment later, you just lift off your pinky. In the diagram, you can see there's 4 dots in the diagram with an arrow pointing towards the pinky. Yeah, that's very intentional. Okay, what else? This song has lots of soloing. So solo number 1, solo number 2, solo number 3, and the solo number 4, the outro. By the way, before I forget, the first minute of the song is a very atmospheric intro, and the last 2 minutes of the song are soloing. That's a huge time commitment. The song itself, I forget, the song is like 7 minutes long. Well, 3 of the minutes are instrumental. very cool to listen to. But just kind of interesting that, maybe that's why he put it as the last song on the album, because he really, indulged himself. Oh my God, he's going to, sorry, Mark, but he kind of indulged himself. I mean, when a song has a 1-minute instrumental intro, that's a big intro. Money for Nothing from the same album also has an epic long introduction. I digress. So during the solos, the same rules apply. 2 strums every time you see a chord name. Okay. Here's a next chord that might be quirky for many of you, is quirky for me. An E suspended 2 chord. It's only on you're only going to strum the 3 fat strings. Very cool sound. And in the case of this song, that chord is, I think, always followed by regular E minor, which is great. So the E suspended 2 chord. Definitely put your index finger, A string, 2nd fret, ring finger or pinky on the 4th string, 4th fret. For those of you into power chords, it basically is a B power chord. I'm ignoring the capo for a minute. It's basically a B power chord, but we're including the open fat E string. For those of you who play a lot of power chords, I would just grab it as if you're grabbing a power chord. If you play a lot of power chords or any kind of chords, you have a certain muscle memory, So just tell yourself, I'm playing a B power chord, but I'm including the fat open E string. Okay. Oh, there's a perfect example. You could just strum an E minor. Every time it says E suspended 2, you could just do an E minor right there. It's close enough. It's close enough. But moving forward, work on that E suspended 2 chord so that you can play it, But for tonight, yes, you could definitely play an E minor chord every time it says E suspended 2. Okay, what else is quirky about this tune? Because we're going to start it in a minute, because you've seen what's quirky about it. I am going to strum everything it says during the solo sections. I am going to do that just for continuity, because that's what he did. Take a look at solo number 3. See my little cursor there at solo number 3? It's going to sound really cool during solo number 3 and the outro, solo number 4. See where the C and D are underlined? At that moment, and the same moment in the chord progression at the bottom of the page. 1 strum on C, 1 strum on D. That's why I underlined it, to sort of bring your attention to it. It's the only time in the song when a chord is only going to last for 1 strum, 1 beat. I'm making a big deal about it just because it's the only exception, But it sounds really cool when you do it. It fits the song really well, okay? Again, we're talking about essentially the middle of solo number 3 and solo number 4, the outro. By the way, the outro solo, those chords happen over and over and over and over and over again for 2 minutes, and the song fades out, We are not going to go for 2 minutes, but now you know. Okay, I'm looking in the chat. Just make sure. Dusty Dave, I see your question about suspended chords. I'm happy to talk about those. Yeah, let's do it after we finish this. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, so what do you guys think? You ready to go on this? Slow? You're going to do great. Make sure you got a capo. You got to have a capo on the 4th fret. My source for this song. How did I know what's going on? Well, I had the issue of Guitar World magazine from 2016, some month of 2016, and they wrote out the whole song in the back of the magazine. So I used that as my to make sure I had my act together. All right, let's do this. What do I need? You see it right there on the screen. I got my copy here. We are not going to do a 1-minute introduction. We're going to start right in that E minor chord. Tip for those of you who play and sing, think about going on an open mic or playing anywhere, get the tune in your head for a second. Nothing wrong with taking a second. These mist-covered mountains, right? That's me getting the song in my head, because I don't trust myself to just guess the notes. Not with a tune I've never performed before, right? This is my debut of Brothers in Arms, and I want to get it just right. So bottom line is, if you have the presence of mind and you know the how the first few notes go, just as individual notes, you do yourself a huge favor by doing what I just did. Now I've done it a couple of times. Now it's definitely in my brain. And that's how you hopefully sing the right few notes to get started. Okay, I'm going to do 2 strums on that E minor. These missed and we're right in. Okay, we're going to be going about that speed right there. 2 strums every time you see a chord name. I'll see you on the other side. These mist-covered mountains are a home now for me. My home's in the lowlands and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battles raged high. And though they did hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. There's so many different worlds, so many different suns, and we have just one world, but we live in different ones. Now the sun's gone to hell and the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written in the starlight. Every line in your palm, we're fools to make war on our brothers in arms. All right. Anybody notice how on the A minors, every once in a while I threw in that ultimate hammer-on business? Right? Why not? Number one, I thought it fit the song. Number two, the A minors often lasted for 4 long counts. Come on, you got to put something in there, right, to spice it up. Didn't hurt the song, maybe even added a little bonus. I kind of made a big deal, maybe too big a deal, during solo 3 and the outro of that C, D, E minor. But what can I say? You know, I want to make sure that was very audible during solo number 3 and solo number 4, C, D, you know. What else? Barry, I'm reading your comment. Barry says, I remember Mark Knopfler saying in an interview that he used guitar to go where his vocal ability couldn't go. Yeah, he says the opposite is sadly true for me. Yeah, yes, I get it. I get it. But because Mark Knopfler doesn't have a big singing range, it's, hey, maybe you can do it, maybe I can do it. Sing, you know, this one of his songs, man. But this is a very chordy song, right? Lots and lots of chords. Okay, questions. I'm curious how you did with that E suspended 2. By the way, the song has a lot of keyboard in it. So everything you and I are doing right here is, to my knowledge, it's essentially being covered by the keyboard part. So when you listen to the tune, you don't necessarily hear strum. That's okay. That's all right. But you can play along with that, you know. What else? How did this format work for you guys? Obviously, it's lyrics and chords, but between you and me, I put a lot of thought into how I spaced out the lyrics, and I wanted every line to start with a word that also had a fresh chord right with it. And I think I pretty much did what I set out to do. The reason I'm asking, and the reason I put a lot of time into this is, and I know I'm repeating myself, I'm used to looking at songs this way and thinking of songs this way. I don't love looking at it this way. I can do it. I just did it. You just did it. But this presentation runs the risk of not seeing the forest because of the trees. Here, it's so, to me, that looks so logical and organized. And, you know, of course, I know there's no lyrics, so I get it. I get it. But that's like just about everything you need for the tune. The only subtlety that's not reflected on this page is that thing where there's just one C and one D, which is somewhat negotiable anyways. I'm not 100% convinced that that's absolutely necessary, but that's a little compromise. Other than that little subtlety, there's the whole tune right there. Anyways, so going back to this one, and I'm speaking to you as a teacher, little behind the scenes teachery kind of thing. I get the appeal of the lyrics and the chords right above. I get it. It's great. It's everything you need. It's right there, right? But I would feel terrible if any student of mine felt the chords are just showing up randomly and there's no way to ever predict what chord is going to come next, because look at the page, man. It's all over the place, right? So that's why I'm making an effort here to, at a minimum, space out the words and divide up the words for clarity. And if I'm making a big deal about it and you wish I would move on to the next topic of that, I get it. I get it. But just so you know, that's what you're looking at is I put some thought into it, and I can still see room for improvement for sure. I know you guys are my guinea pigs. I have not done this song with an in-person student yet. Sometimes you and I, we all here in the live stream, the stuff I present is stuff that's been vetted by, you know, human beings that I sit with and teach in-person lessons. Other times, and they're the guinea pigs, right? Other times you're the guinea pig, and I see how you do. So how do you guys do with this? Randy says you like the simpler format. So Randy, when you say the simpler format, you mean that right there, right? Yeah. Of course, it doesn't have the words, but you know, either you're not the singer, so it doesn't matter anyways, or we could always drop in a few words. Like I might add in a few keywords here, so there's no, no doubts. And what I'm calling the interlude here is the guitar solo part. Here on this page, I call it the interlude, but it's those variety of guitar solos. Interesting. Beginner guitar lessons. I'm reading your comment there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Another one to add to our really long collection of play along songs. I hope you like that one. Mark Knopfler, Brothers in Arms, title track from the album called Brothers in Arms. Okay. Hey, Dusty Dave, let's get to Dusty Dave's question about suspended chords. Show us some suspended chords. I would love to. The most common suspended chords are chords you already know, like D, and you either lift off a very specific finger or you add a finger, and typically it's the pinky. If the pinky's not doing anything anyways, it's often the pinky that gets added to suspend the chord. So the classic, good old D. If that reminds you of any one song, it probably reminds you of 2 songs or 3 songs. What you're hearing there is a classic, almost cliche, almost a painfully cliche thing that we all do on a D chord. And it involves suspending the chord. So how did I suspend the D chord just there? I did add my pinky, just like in Brothers in Arms. First skinny string, 3rd fret. But you can also suspend a D chord by letting go of your middle finger and accessing the open E string. Very cool sounding chord. So for a minute, I'm going to just show you suspended chords. And then after that, I'll tell you where the name comes from and what's going on. But let's do the physical stuff first. Okay, suspending the D chord. How about an A major chord? And we're going to suspend it 2 ways. First way to suspend an A major chord, the Beatles suspended when they went. I'm an A major chord, but you let go of the 2nd skinny string. Ooh, kind of a dreamy, powerful sound. The other way to suspend an A major chord is to grab the A major chord. I like to slide up my ring finger, 2nd string, 3rd fret. You could also just put the pinky down on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Also kind of a dreamy sound. You hear a lot of melody happening, right, on the 2nd skinny string, especially if you call the listener's attention to it. Oh, somebody name that tune. I'm kind of fudging it. Name this tune. At least the one I'm thinking of. It's a former Beatle, and it's a, quote, holiday song. What song is that right there? I know. Put it in the chat. How about suspending a think of another one that's convenient. Well, E is kind of quirky. E major. Here's my E major chord. I'm going to suspend it just one way, just because of the physical nature of an E chord. There's only one convenient way to suspend this E major chord. Pinky, 3rd skinny string, G string, 2nd fret. Regular E major, E suspended. In E major to E suspended. Not every chord is equally easy to suspend. So that's why my little brain is thinking like, well, should we do this one? Also, sometimes you can give the illusion of suspending a chord, but then the chord police come out and they say, well, that's not actually a suspension. That's just adding an extra note. So I want to dodge that. Okay, so let's leave it at those for the moment. We did it with a D, an A, and an E just then. Okay, so now what does it mean to suspend a chord? In any chord, there's one note that makes it major or one note that makes it minor. There's one note that is the determining factor of whether the chord is major or minor. And as you know, major and minor chords by far are the most common flavors of chords in popular music anyways, okay? So that one note in any given chord is really significant. You know, you change it a little bit, it could go from being minor to major or major to minor, right? If you change that. What if you remove that note altogether? You didn't just change it to make it sound minor. You just took that note out of the mix. You put something else in its place, but the chord is no longer major or minor. That's called suspending a chord. On a D major chord, D like delta, your middle finger, skinny string, 2nd fret, that specific note happens to be the note F sharp. That specific note is why this is called D major. When you do a D minor chord, check out where my index finger is. My index finger is on the note F, not F sharp, and that's why it's called D minor. Now, you don't have to remember this. It's not a quiz. When you let go of the skinny string altogether, you got the open E, you got the E note. Well, you don't have the F sharp or the F, the notes that were making it major or minor. You have this other thing that's nearby, and that's significant. The fact that it's physically nearby, alphabetically nearby, that's significant. You have now suspended the chord. You've taken away the one note or the two notes that would have made it major or minor, and you're playing the open E instead. So that's called suspending the chord. Same thing when you put your pinky down on the 1st string, 3rd fret during a D major chord. The listener can no longer hear the F sharp, but the middle finger is touching. The listener hears the G instead. It's physically close to the F sharp. It's musically close, but the listener can't hear the F sharp anymore. So you've taken away the one note that gave it that major identity, and that's why it's called a suspended chord. Those of you who want to go even deeper down the rabbit hole, when you see suspended 4, G is the 4th note of a D major scale. Why is the D major scale relevant? Because I'm playing a D chord, and the D major scale is the relevant scale to talk about when you're playing a D major chord. It's our reference point. So long story short, the reason why it's called D suspended 4 when you put your pinky down, the note G is the 4th note of a D major scale. When you take your middle finger off and access that skinny open 1st string, the note E is the 2nd note of a D major scale. So this chord is called the D suspended 2 chord. D suspended 2 and D suspended 4. And as some of you know, our moderators know it, beginner guitar lessons and music fan, what you heard me doing there is the John Lennon song, War is Over, So This Is Christmas, right? Yeah. And Christian, you guessed You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, and that has that same vibe, but I don't think it has the suspended chords. It has that dun chicka chicka, exact same rhythm, dun chicka chicka kind of rhythm. So yeah, so John Lennon, I believe he kept that musical theme going beyond just the A chord. I think he did it with a D as well. I should look at my website, because on my website, song-bike.com, I have a video of me teaching that song by John Lennon. Okay, so yeah, so I think I'm going to call it right there, but Dusty Dave, I hope that answers your question. Physically, how you play some suspended chords, and then musically, what's going on. You know, hope that helps. Great question. I love talking about music theory, but my tendency is to, you know, read the room. And when people are asking about music theory, I love talking about it. But sometimes there's other things that I prioritize other than the music theory behind a song. Sometimes. Okay, cool, man. Check. Now Now, we got a few minutes left, so let's use them wisely. In case you missed it, no live stream next Saturday, Valentine's Day. I would like to do one the night before, Friday the 13th, bum, bum, bum. And my tentative plan is to do it at 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday. That's 2 hours later than usual, okay? 22 hours earlier than usual, you know, so to speak. So probably we're gonna do one Friday at 7 p.m. How you know for sure, follow me on Instagram or Facebook, and that's where I will definitely make it clear what's gonna happen. And just go to Instagram or Facebook, do a search for SongBike, all one word, SONGBIKE, and follow me, and then you will always be in the loop. Okay, before we get to another weekly teaching feature, I'm gonna check out what you guys are talking about in the chat, and we have a student quote of the week coming up, so don't go anywhere. A student quote of the week. If I don't think I missed any questions, but if I ever did miss a question, please put it again in the chat with a few question marks in advance, so I know it's there. I'd feel terrible if I missed a question. Oh, I hear that wind gusting. I took it easy on the way to work this morning. For once, I drove the speed limit because it was a little snowy, I didn't trust the road. So now I know what it feels like to drive the speed limit. I was the only one on the road. That's not a good sign when you're the only one on the road between my actual house and getting on the highway. There was no one behind me, is what I'm saying. I saw a few cars opposite. I was the only person going the direction that I was going in for miles, and that feels weird. When it's when the weather's kind of funky and kind of iffy and maybe a little dangerous, it feels weird. Like, wait, why am I the only one going in this direction? Not cool. Oh, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about Brian Setzer. Unfortunately, I'm going to direct you to his video. But let's talk about it right now. Brian Setzer, I'm a Brian Setzer fan. Who isn't a Brian Setzer fan? Very interesting guy. Had some neurological issues, and it looked like it might affect his playing. I believe he's bounced back from that, which is great. Okay, so anyways, what I'm talking about here is a very cool Brian Setzer Instagram reel. And what I'm going to try doing here, I don't know if I can, oh, that's not what I want. I don't know if I can, boom, 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 open link. I think, yeah, man, I think when I throw something up on the screen, a video with people talking and stuff, I think you guys can hear it. I can't, but that's okay. You guys can hear it. This is kind of short. I wish this were longer, and I wish he got into more specifics, but I love this so much. I'll let this run a couple times because it's very short, and I just love this. And here it comes. And the link to this, I'm going to share it in the description of this.
Into rockabilly.
Let me know if you got
Jazz. Country. Jazz. Right? I think the only problem people have is they really put things into categories. This is jazz, this is blues, this is rock and roll, this is country music, and you can't mix them. This is what they are. Rock and roll, right? Into rockabilly. Jazz. Country. Jazz. Right? I think the only problem people have is they really put things in
you
categories.
guys get a kick out of that?
This is jazz, this is blues, this is rock and roll.
Okay, fun, right? Fun. Oh, I love that. Again, I'll put the link to that in the description of this live stream. Now, as someone scrolling on my social media, I love seeing that. As a teacher, I want him to slow down, break it down for us, spend 5 times as much time as he just did. Because I get where he's coming from. I get what he's presenting to us. But like, I love stuff like that, man. I love stuff like that. Another similar thing. Ooh, maybe I can find a way to Duke Robillard, terrific blues player. Well known amongst guitar players, and certainly well known here on the East Coast. But Duke Robillard is great. Duke Robillard has a song on an album where he says, B.B. King would play it like this, and he does a great B.B. King, imitation. So-and-so would play like this, and he walks through, and I love it so much. It's so cool. I'll try to find a link to that song so you know what I'm talking about. Duke Robillard. So isn't that fun? Brian Setzer. Yeah. So I want to be him when I grow up. Like, I would love to do what he just did, but spend like 60 seconds on each one of those things. And I think that'd be so cool. Okay. Now you know what gets me excited on the socials. Check Brian Setzer. Okay. Hey, I had a student quote of the week. Student quote of the week. And I believe it was regarding the B minor chord. And although it could be for any chord, but you'll see why the B minor is relevant. A student simply said, I'm getting better at the B minor chord. I'm almost falling right into it. And I thought, yeah, with any chord, you want to fall into it, right? What starts off as one finger at a time as you learn any chord, over time, it becomes that motion, what he called falling into the chord. I thought, I like that, falling into a chord. Okay, so there's a student quote of the week, falling in to a chord. Check. All right. You know what we have time for? We have time for another weekly teaching feature here on the weapon of mass instruction known as the SongBike Guitar Q&A Livestream. We sure do have time. One of my students has a fun book, the 50 blues songs you must learn. And we happen to have it today. And it was getting towards the end of the lesson. I was thinking, let's grab something out of this book that's short and sweet. I thought, the Little Red Rooster riff. Okay, so I know this, there it is, popping up on your screen right now. So for the record, what you're looking at comes from the Hal Leonard Publications book called The First 50 Blues Songs You Should Learn. I believe that's what it's called. And I thought, essentially the song is built on this riff. Notice in the fine print under that first measure of tab, it says slide guitar arranged for guitar. So what they're saying is, this is how you can do it without a slide on your finger. Now, I understand this is slightly hard to read, but every one of these measures is the exact same. So if you have any doubts about reading the first, measure, just go ahead to the second box, right there, Okay, I'm going to be quiet for a second and just play this. Okay, very cool riff. This riff has been interpreted different ways. I have this riff in my free blues guide. You can get a copy of my free blues guide. It's different than this version of the riff. It's a very cool version of it, but I've seen this riff played and written down different ways. So if you want to compare my version to this version, get yourself a free copy, free. Head to my website, song-bike.com. Scroll down just a teeny bit. You'll see, get your free blues guide. Just put in your email address. It gets emailed to you right away. If you don't get it right away, check your spam folder or something. It's a very cool PDF with a whole bunch of cool, kind of easy blues stuff. Okay, including my version of this riff. But let's get back to this version of the riff. I challenge you to play that 5-5 with your pinky. I'm talking about the 5/5 on the 3rd and 4th strings. Just clamp down that pinky or your ring finger. For sure, do the 2/2 with your index finger as a bar. Whatever you do, do not use two separate fingers for the 5/5, the 2/2. It's just, it's not worth it. It's better to practice. It's better to practice flattening out that pinky, getting a good grip. Can you see my thumb? Of course you can't. Not now, right? Because my thumb is essentially opposite my pinky. Now you can see my thumb pointing straight up to the ceiling. Your pinky might rebel. Your pinky might say, I'm just a pinky. I can't clamp down hard. Yes, yes, you can. You have to make your pinky bend the wrong way. You have to make it flat. You can't let your, and by the way, this goes really anytime you do any sort of little bar with any finger, the first knuckle, the knuckle closest to your fingernail, that cannot bend. Not the way the Lord intended. Sorry. You got to keep that stiff, straight, however you want to put it. This is not exactly the way I hear the riff, but this is a cool riff no matter what, right? Okay. So bar the 5s with your pinky or ring. Bar the 2s with your index. All of a sudden, you got a 5 on the skinny 1st string. You got to use your pinky for that one. Let it ring even as you're plucking the open A string. See how the 5 has a little dotted line and then there's parentheses? That just means that that note continues to ring even when you go on. Can you read that 0 on the A string? And then that little 3/4, to me, that sounds the least like the versions of the song I've heard, but it still sounds cool. It just, I don't hear that exact harmony. That's okay. Cool riff. For those of you who are having a hard time flattening out any finger, for these little partial bars, yeah, good. Now you have a weekend project, man. You're not going to just watch the Super Bowl, right? You got to have your guitar in your hand. I mean, you can watch it if you want to, but don't do it without a guitar in your hand. Now you got a thing to work on. By the way, you could. This is not a crazy idea. Instead of just putting down your pinky at 5, when I say at 5, you know what I'm talking about, right? My pressure is all on the 2 center strings. You can actually grab with multiple fingers. I mean, when I do that, my imagination tells me that I'm engaging just more muscles in general. I don't know for sure, but it just feels like, wow, I'm gripping the guitar. So the pinky doesn't have to fly solo, is all I'm saying. Although it can. Give it some time. By the way, when I do that with my pinky, I feel it right up. I mean, my bicep is engaged. I feel it. There's a lot going on. It's hardly just the little pinky muscles. There's a lot going on. At least there should be. There should be a lot going on. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to sound great. Okay, so there you go. One more weekly teaching feature, the Little Red Rooster riff from the Hal Leonard publication called First 50, I believe it's First 50 Blues Songs You Should Learn. Hal Leonard has a whole series called the First 50 blah, 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 blah. Hey, if I could toot my own horn for a second, they asked me if I wanted to contribute a volume to their First 50 blah, 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 blah. And I took a pass for 2 reasons. I saw a couple where the author's name didn't get credited on the book. I thought, wait a minute. And secondly, I was going to get paid less than what they paid me for writing my own Hal Leonard book, which I have somewhere around here. I thought, no, wait a minute. For sure you're paying me less. And it doesn't look like you always put the author's name on the cover, man. I don't want to have to convince someone that I wrote the book. I thought, I don't like the sound of this, man. So I took a pass. And that's the last I heard from Hal Leonard. Oh, well, but my Hal Leonard book is available. You can get it from Amazon, but why not buy it from me? It's called Easy Guitar, Chord, and Lead Tricks by Jonathan Q. That's me. And you can order it from my website. When you order that book, that's a hard copy book that I put in a package and I send to you. It's not an electronic book that you get emailed. It's a hard copy book. It comes with access to a video. In the video, you can see me playing a few cool guitars. I got a kick out of using one of the guitars because a friend of mine had dropped off a guitar that he wanted to show me. Hey, check out this new guitar. Borrow it for a couple of days. And it happened to be at the exact time I was filming the video for the book. It was a cool Gibson. It was a dark brown Gibson, like 335 with the F holes. Oh, it was a cool guitar. So that made it into the video. I think it was that guitar. Pretty sure. I have to watch the video. All right, you guys good with that? Little Red Rooster. What a great blues riff. And I'm not showing it to you randomly. That is the repetitive heart of the song, is that riff over and over and over again. There are songs like that where you learn the riff and that is the song, you know, to be contrasted with a song that has a whole bunch of chords and strum patterns. And, you know, there are blues songs specifically out there that are one riff. DAC Poet says, I like this one. Yeah. Oh, Steven says that you saw Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats with Joan Jett at a fair in Maine. That must have been fun. I'm guessing that was in the 80s sometime, maybe 90s. Very fun. Interesting guy, Brian Setzer. I was a middle schooler when the Stray Cats hit the scene. And, you know, when you're a kid, all you know is the novelty. Stray Cat Strut, it's kind of a novelty kind of tune. And the level of his guitar playing went right over my head. Zoom, there it went, just like that. And then later in life, you realize, man, that guy can play. That was a good band, the Stray Cats. That guy can play. All right, checking things off. Check. You guys, it's not too late to ask your question, but you know what? I'm thinking I'm checking the boxes off of the stuff that I want to check out. We did 3 weekly teaching features this week. Remember the Ultimate Hammer-On? Seems like just yesterday. The Ultimate Hammer-On. We did the Mission Impossible riffs and the Little Red Rooster riff. We did our play-along song, Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. That's what's going to get this live stream doing some revenue sharing. I shouldn't say we don't get demonetized. We get involved in revenue sharing. Hey, have you noticed there's no ads when you watch it live? Like many of you are, I see. No ads. As soon as it's done, then I monetize it. And that's what gets revenue sharing kicks in with whoever owns the rights to Brothers in Arms by Mark Knopfler. Let me tell you what it never says. Mark Knopfler would like to share money. It's always like 11 corporations around the world that I will now be sharing revenue with. Kind of, that's show business, I guess. Go figure. Hey, for those of you who are stuck around all night, don't forget, March 15, me, my friend Clay, a couple other guys, we're going to be playing music for you in our rehearsal space. We're going to set up some lights, some drums, some cameras, some mics. We're going to be playing a bunch of original songs. Sunday, March 15. The time is to be determined. It almost certainly will be Sunday, March 15. There's a possible chance we'll bump it a week later. We have certain musicians we really want to work with, and we're trying to make sure the date works for all of them. It should be fun. We'll probably play about 6 or 7 original tunes, and it's for you. It's for you guys. It's just for the fun of it. Yes, there will be a little button you can click on to send us a tip, tip jar, virtual tip jar. But we've been getting our act together, and the songs are sounding better and better, and we can't wait to hear how they sound with some bass and some drums and some keys. It should be very cool. So make a note, the Ides of March. March 15th is a Sunday, middle of the afternoon sometime, hopefully a time when you'd be kicking back and enjoying life anyways. It'll be right here on YouTube. Don't worry, you'll get plenty of, I'm going to keep reminding you about it. But I'm very excited. It should be very cool. We're just working out the logistics because we want everything to look good, sound good. So it should be a lot of fun. March 15th. Okay, I am not done with you yet because I'm looking in the chat and seeing. Christian, I see your question. Which pentatonic fits that Little Red Rooster riff? I would do an A minor pentatonic or an A blues scale. So starting with my sixth fat sixth string, 5/8, fifth string, 5/7, fourth string, 5/7, third string, 5/7, second string, 5/8, first string, 5/8. The A minor pentatonic scale, but don't go anywhere. Because Little Red Rooster is one of the all-time classic blues songs. You don't want to just play the minor pentatonic. You want to add two bluesy notes to turn the A minor pentatonic scale into the A blues scale. You ready? It's still going to start off with 5/8. On the fifth string, 5/6/7. Oh, big difference. Fourth string, 5/7, like before. Now watch out, third skinny string, G string, 5/7, like before, plus an 8. Oh, there's your blue note right there. 5/7/8. Second string back to the 5/8 you would have done anyways. And first string, 5/8. So the two new notes were 6 on the A string and 8 on the G string. For the record, it's the same note one octave apart. It happens to be the note E flat. And discerning ears will hear that it's the same note. Those of you into the science, the higher note, if my guitar is in tune, is vibrating at exactly twice the frequency. Hypothetically, if that note is vibrating at 400 vibrations per second, the lower one is 200 vibrations per second. And every time you tune up your guitar with your tuner or your phone app, that tuner or the app is simply counting vibrations. And it's been calibrated so that it makes an announcement. You play your open E string and it announces perfect or too many vibrations or too few vibrations, and that's when you start tuning. That's what's going on. Yeah, and beginning guitar lessons is pointing out the B.B. King box. You got it. On the third skinny string, 9 with your middle finger. Gotta have your middle finger. On the second string, 8/10 with your index and ring. On the first string, 8/10. Now, that's the pentatonic version. To get that bluesy sound, you can do a little bend. That 10 on the first string, that's the note D. If you bend it a little bit, you can make it sound like the E flat. You can also get the E flat on the third string by playing 8 right before the 9. Okay, so such a cute box. Nicknamed the B.B. King box. Also, it's the notes of an A minor pentatonic scale, but you can access those bluesy notes there too. Yeah, thank you, Beginner Guitar Lessons, for that recommendation. Yeah, Debbie, thank you for being here. Bear James says, who is your favorite guitarist? Oh man, I like so many guitarists. I could point to people you guys have heard before. I like Keith Richards. I like Steve Cropper. But let's talk about someone who is like around, somebody that you could potentially even go and see. Duke Levine. I like Duke Levine a lot. He's a Boston guy, but how could you see him? He tours with Bonnie Raitt. Go see Bonnie Raitt in concert. He's her, whatever you want to call him, other guitar player, backup guitar player. I like Duke Levine a lot. Or do I have his album? I sure do. Duke Levine and his buddies made a cool album called Duke Levine and the Super Sweet Sounds of the 70s. What a cool album. It's instrumental versions of songs from the 70s, such as How about Only Love Can Break Your Heart by Neil Young? John Barleycorn Must Die. There's Elton John songs on here, songs from the band. Anyways, there's a guitar player that cool as heck. Might not be a household name, but that's someone I listen to. Oh, when I'm home and like doing something around the house, I want to put on a little background music, I put on Duke Levine. Very cool. D-U-K-E, Duke Levine, L-E-V-I-N-E. There's a great guitar player. So that's someone I turn to. Who else? Who else comes to mind? I should have all these names off the top of my head. The thing is, I don't, you guys, we all agree on some of the, I think Jimmy Page is a great guitar player from Led Zeppelin, right? There's all these great guitar players. But I feel like you asked me a sincere question. I want to give you some cool things to listen to. Oh, Ernest Ranglin, the reggae guitarist, Ernest Ranglin, R-A-N-G-L-I-N. I like the way he plays. Very cool stuff. There's some that you might not have heard of before, Yeah. Okay, John, I see your question. Give me a second here. I'm just scrolling for a second. Oh yeah, William, I see your question about alternate tunings. Yeah, alternate tunings. Because of time, I'm going to keep this a little bit short, but I thank you for putting the bug in my ear because we could talk about this a lot in the future. Let's talk about the bad news for a second about alternate tunings. As soon as you tune your guitar to something else, you can't play any of your old stuff until you tune it back again, right? That's why you need 2 guitars or 3 or 4 guitars. But that's the negative. I guess maybe the second negative thing is tuning guitars, even loosening the strings, does put wear and tear on the guitar. A string can break as you loosen it. It's possible, right? It's possible. So if you do a lot of retuning to different tunings, you're putting some wear and tear on the strings. Okay, so let's take those aside now. The positives are overwhelmingly positive. It's like getting a free new instrument just with a few turns of your tuning knobs. Oh man. So by far the most common alternate tunings are tunings that put you into the sound of a chord. Instead of having to squeeze notes for a G chord, you could just change your tuning and get an automatic G chord without any fretting whatsoever. What's better than that? And we don't do it to get out of playing hard stuff on the guitar. We do it because that's what a lot of famous guitar players have done and written famous songs in alternate tunings. Keith Richards, for example, plays a lot of songs in open G tuning. Well, that's how he gets a lot of the sounds he gets. You can't get those sounds without going that tuning. And why would you want to? Wouldn't you want to do it? I mean, if you love a certain guitar player or a certain song, don't you want to do it exactly like them? Especially if there's a high likelihood that once you're in that alternate tuning that's appropriate to the song, what your left hand, your fretting hand ends up doing is not particularly hard. I've found the vast majority of times I've had to retune a guitar to play a certain song. It ends up being surprisingly easy for my fretting hand. Nobody goes to the trouble of retuning a guitar to then I shouldn't say nobody. Most people, if they're going to go through the trouble of retuning the guitar, it's not to make their job harder, I mean, they're not doing it because they're lazy, but take my word for it. The ones that I've seen, when I come across a song and it says, oh, you got to retune your guitar to play the song, it does not end up being a big, hard song. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I want to plant that bug in your ear, Alternate tuning can be as little as simply one string, typically your fat E string, getting loosened down to D. That counts as an alternate tuning, and it can be as dramatic as every string on the guitar being a totally different note than what it already is. And there's a big gray area in between. Most common alternate tunings are open G and open D, meaning when you strum the open strings, no fretting, whatever, you get that chord. Open D produces an automatic D chord, and so on. Open E and open A are also extremely common as well. Slide guitar, most of the time, anytime you hear slide guitar, it's being done on a guitar with some kind of open tuning. Ooh, the wind is blowing out there. Oh man, I wish my car had a sail. I could just sail home. Now, you totally can play slide guitar without going to any sort of open tuning, aka alternate tuning, but a lot of great, legendary, awesome slide guitar was done with open tuning. A lot of blues gets done in open tuning. So Bill, I want to I want to address your question in a quick way. And you know what we could do? Maybe not this coming live stream, but in an upcoming live stream, do a segment where I have a guitar already in that tuning, and I show you some riffs and maybe one famous song in that tuning to whet your appetite. Despite what I said at the beginning, I do encourage you to explore open tunings. It's fantastic. Literally, it's as if, literally as if someone gave you a new free instrument. Like, here, now play this. And your guitar it vibrates in a way that didn't vibrate before. I mean, literally, you're getting, if your fat string is tuned down to D, you're going to be making your instrument vibrate in a way it never vibrated before. It never got that frequency sent into the wood, right? That low D sound. And it's extremely rewarding and addictive. And the way to make it convenient is to have a second instrument that's already in that tuning, and you can go back and forth. That's one reason why rock stars have multiple guitars, on stage or nearby, because they've written songs in certain tunings, and they don't want to make small talk on stage while they retune. They want to grab it and right into the song. So Bill, you're getting my creative imagination going on how we can do this in our live stream, and I'm going to give it some more thought. And I saw someone else said something too. John, you're talking about the strum pattern for Sultans of Swing. That's a tricky one. Because you used the word correct. You said, what is the correct strum pattern? And I don't know if there is one repetitive thing that happens on the guitar over and over in that song. So I can't give you I don't know the song that well to say here's exactly what's being strummed at any given moment in the song. What I can tell you is what I would do if I was going to strum along. Someone's doing Sultans of Swing, and I got up on stage or got I'd be doing some nice gentle down ups. Shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, nice down ups. South of the river, you stop and you hold everything. I'm holding the pick super loosely. If I seem casual, I'm trying to stay casual and relaxed about it. Band is blowing Dixie, double 4 time. I'm starting to forget what the next chords are. That's an appropriate thing to do. I wish I could tell you that's exactly what you hear. If you listen closely in the background, you hear a guitar doing that in the background. I don't feel confident in telling you that, but I can tell you that I would feel comfortable. Nice, gentle down ups. Doesn't matter what pick you use, thin, thick, anything, as long as you're holding it loosely, as long as your arm is relaxed. My challenge to you would be, to anybody learning a song like that, give much of your attention to the left-hand chord changes until your left hand can nail every chord change in time, even if you have to slow the song down a little. Remember, on YouTube, you can slow a song down a little bit. That's going to be the challenge for most of us. Then when you feel like you're ready there, that's when the exact strumming becomes more significant, or becomes it becomes your priority. It should become your priority, because many of us are held back by what our fretting hand can do. I'm going to direct your attention to that right there, to your fretting hand, make the chord changes. And for sure, keep the strumming simple until the chords are just flowing smoothly. But even when they are flowing smoothly, I would recommend I'm just doing down ups. I mean, it's a certain amount of down ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's a certain amount of down ups per chord, but that's all I'm doing. Because that is an accomplishment right there, you know. And I would like to listen to that song more closely so I can more definitively say, ooh, if you listen closely, there's a guitar in the background doing this, you know. I just get caught up in Mark Knopfler's all the cool riffs, man, all those cool little, those riffs. To this day, those riffs kill me. I've been listening to that song 40 years. How long has that song been around? Late 70s, 50 years almost. It's all his riffs still kill me. Oh my God. Okay, maybe that's a good note to wrap up on. Christian says that John Denver's song, Poems, Prayers, and Promises, the fat string is tuned down to low D. Barry James says, Dadgad tuning is popular in my home country. Dadgad, D-A-D-G-A-D, from fat to skinny. Classic tuning. It's a beautiful, every tuning opens up new possibilities. And you can retune your guitar and see what other people have done in that tuning, but you can also make up your own stuff. And that's super rewarding as well. So there you go. All right, you guys. Likely that I will see you next Friday instead of Saturday. For sure, no show on Saturday. But I think doing like a 1-hour show on Friday. I know for those of you out to the east of me, out there in the UK and beyond, I know that makes it a late night. So I understand if you're not going to stay up that late. I get it. I get it. Just 1 week. 1 week. Okay. Don't forget, put March 15th on your calendar. Sunday, March 15th. Me live with a bunch of friends. And it should be a lot of fun doing all original stuff, some of which have never been played in public ever before. It's going to be great. March 15th. All right, you guys, have a great week. Stay warm out there. I know we're not the only folks getting some cold weather right now. Good luck staying warm. Take care. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Good night, everybody.